Behind the images of power and money are real people with real stories, plans of hard work, sacrifice, and making the best decisions, turning failure into great achievement. Join us in conversation with leading business owners as we learn the secrets of how to gain long-term success, mistakes made, lessons learned, and how to build the kind of wealth that lasts for generations. Welcome to Wealth Wednesdays, hosted by Chicago Treasurer Conyears-Ervin. Join us now and build your own success story.
Hey Chicago, welcome to Wealth Wednesdays, which is an opportunity for me to talk to our local success stories to share more about their road to success. This is beyond the walls of city halls. It is my mission to help to financially empower residents and small business owners of Chicago. Now, to date, we have focused on helping residents with financial intelligence, including credit and money management, home ownership, growing small businesses, investments, and retirement, to name the least. And this year, we are expanding to also address the interests and needs of residents along the entire financial health spectrum. And that is the goal of Wealth Wednesdays, to have candid conversations with successful Chicagoans. Today's guest is Martin Cabrera. Now, I call him Marty because we go way back. Now, Marty Cabrera is the CEO and founder of Cabrera Capital Markets and Cabrera Capital Partners. So I am so excited about the conversation that we are going to be having today. I'll give you a little information and Marty is going to go over it, but let me just give you a little background about Cabrera Capital Markets. It provides global investment banking and institutional brokerage services to a substantial and diversified client base that includes financial institutions, states and municipalities, corporations, unions, foundations, and endowments. CCM, I'll say for Cabrera Capital Markets, issued over $900 billion in debt and equities for municipalities and corporations domestically and internationally. $900 billion. CCM's taxable fixed income and global equities trading desk are transacting over $1 billion in securities daily. Wow. I'm so excited about this conversation. Now, Cabrera Capital Partners, CCP, provides commercial and residential real estate development expertise, investments, and consulting services to a full range of clients in the public, private, institutional, and nonprofit sectors. CCP has experience providing investment advisory services, including development, acquisition, and management. Over $3.5 billion in institutional real estate. These billions are just ringing this morning. CCP's current real estate development focus is the transformation of a $400+ million mixed income and mixed use community, providing essential housing, services, and jobs. Now, Marty has over 25 years of investment experience. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in finance from Northern Illinois University, right here in Illinois, and studied at the London School of Economics. Marty currently serves as board member at Chicago Community Trust, member of the Archbishop's Finance Council, and chairman of Real Estate Committee for the Archdiocese of Chicago, chairman of the Board of Trustees at St. Ignatius College Prep, board member of World Business Chicago. Oh, there's so much more for Marty. Board member of Latino Donor Collaborative, board member of Children First Fund, and former chairman of the City Colleges of Chicago and former chairman of the Chicago Plan Commission. You all, this Wealth Wednesdays is so very important. I talk a lot about bringing people that understand our community, looking at how they have made it, and for them to share their success stories. And so, Marty, you are quite a businessman, and we welcome you here today.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. It's an honor to be here.
So I spoke a lot about the Cabrera Capital Markets, Capital Partners. We're talking about two organizations that you're the CEO and founder of both. Talk to me about you, though. Your background. Let's hear about Marty. How we know that you went to Northern Illinois University right here in Illinois. That's a success story within itself. Mm-hmm. But talk to us about how you have made it to where you are today. Let's get to know Marty.
Sure. I've been very fortunate and blessed. So I grew up here in Chicago on the southwest side in Little Village area, really around Petrowski Park. It was kind of core to my formation as well, playing sports my whole life. And proud product of Chicago Public Schools. I went to Eli Whitney in Little Village, and then to Marquette Elementary, and then to Bogan High School. And, I just loved kind of playing sports, but also I didn't know anything about financial services or the stock market. And I was fortunate to have a couple of mentors. Connie Ryan, who was assistant vice principal at Bogan, also my econ teacher. Jim Ortiz was also the basketball coach, so he knew I loved sports. And it was my senior year, beginning of my senior year. He asked me to take his econ class, and I'm like, Mr. Ortiz, I got my whole life figured out. I'm going to U of I, I'm going to be an architect, and I'm all set. And in his kind way, he kind of like grabbed me in a headlock. He's like, Martin, I want you to take my econ class, and you're going to learn a lot. I'm like, oh, okay, Mr. Ortiz, I'll take your econ class. And we're a bunch of kids from the neighborhood, and I think that year was the year that Bill Bennett came from the Secretary of Education and announced at our school that the public schools were the worst public schools in the country, which was offensive to all of us because we had a lot of pride for our school and for public schools. And taking that econ class, just changed my whole life. Mr. Ortiz explained to us what the stock market was, but we're still a bunch of kids from the neighborhood trying to grasp the concept about buying stocks and how you can actually be an owner. And in the stock market game that we played in the class, we were given $100,000 of simulation money, and we had to go and research stocks and invest that money into the companies that we felt were going to perform the best. So there was some of us, friends of mine, that were in a group, and I was a team captain. And I convinced them, let's put all of our money in the one stock. Mm-hmm. And it was at $324 a share for the share price. And the next week, this is pre-computers at the high school. Mm-hmm. So we're flipping through the Chicago Tribune to see where the stock was at and looking at the stock tables. And it's at 36.25. I'm like, that can't be right. We bought it at $324 a share. And
you put it all in there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so my teammates weren't too kind to me. They were swearing at me, calling me names in Spanish, and all those great things. They're like, you lost all of our money. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And, but Mr. Ortiz, at the end of the class period, saw what was going on. So he explained to us at the end of the class period what a 10-for-1 stock split was, and that the stock was actually at $362.50 a share. And it was an eye-opening moment for me, and I just had all these questions. He's like, you're actually making money, and you guys are doing really well. And so we ended up coming, I think, in second place that year in the Illinois competition. But it kind of proved to me that it doesn't matter how broke or how poor you are, or what neighborhood you come from, that if you do the research, you can kind of perform and do well.
Wow.
And compared to some of the parochial schools or private schools that we're competing against, we outperformed them. And so it let me know that it was possible. And I just started researching a lot more companies and asking questions to Mr. Ortiz about, why does China impact the U.S. and the taxes and our companies? Mm-hmm. So it was just an eye-opening moment. I ended up changing my major to finance and changing my university to NIU and started getting internships. And I just fell in love with it. I was like a kid on Christmas morning.
Wow.
I had a brand new toy, and I was just so excited about it. Yeah. And I started researching, and I loved it. And I saw that it was competitive. And I like that, I think, from the sports aspect of it, and really started getting into it and just fell in love with it and started to pursue kind of college career and internships as well to help me.
But it started as a senior in high school.
Yes.
At CPS.
Yes.
And if you did not have that exposure,
I probably would have been an architect. I don't know if
Which
I'd
is
be that
awesome.
happy.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd be that happy. My passion wasn't there. And I still get together with Mr. Ortiz and Mr. Ryan about every 3 months
Wow.
and just thank them, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been blessed. And they looked out for me. And I think a lot of
Wow.
teachers at CPS
that's right.
are that way, and they kind of look out. They just saw that, my father passed away when I was 16. And it's like, here's a kid, probably just needs some guidance along the way. And sometimes going off on the wrong path too. And them kind of put me on the right path and giving me some guidance, which a lot of our kids are the same way. And they just need some opportunities, people to coach them and direct them in the right way.
And I'm going to plug here right now, while we're talking about our young people in Chicago, based upon the experience you had as a high school student and how you got to where you are today, I'm reminded that you have a lot of interns in your office, and this is good for our viewers to hear, because we want young people to know about internships that are out there. And I know you do that every summer.
Yes, we have multiple interns, and one summer Chicago Summer Business Institute.
Wonderful.
Other kind of colleges and students that apply. And even though they may be in a certain department, we bring them all together and have each of the departments talk to them, so that it might spark an interest
That's right.
in their life. It might be in the legal department. It might be in the compliance department.
love that you said
sales and trading, the investment banking. And even my daughter's interning with us for the first year, and she's majoring in public policy and economics, but she wants to make sure she's making a difference in the world. I was like, this is how you shape policy, and you help your clients in cities and schools and airports to
And
really
you can
make
shape
improvements.
policy and finance.
Yes, you can.
That is awesome. And let me also state, I like when you said that, so for those that are listening, you have an investment firm, however, there's many aspects to it. There's a legal aspect, there's procurement. There's so many aspects to the firm that an individual does not necessarily have to just be in investments and finance.
Yes, it touches many different areas,
Yeah.
from accounting to human resources, even the back office, and supporting all of our trading and all the transactions that are taking place. And you have a wide spectrum of people who are math majors, but also English majors and history majors. Some people that didn't go on to college, but just have a passion, or are very bright, and sometimes they just need an opportunity.
Wonderful.
And just providing some of those pathways and giving them some direction as well.
I love it. So what was your first job after college?
After college, I started at a retail brokerage firm. So I had to make 450 cold calls to complete strangers every day, asking them to send me $300,000. So,
Wow.
yeah, and it was very difficult, and most people would hang up on me. Some people would swear at me, and some people would just hang up, and I'd call them right back. I think you dropped the phone.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I hung up on you. I was like,
Yeah.
I've got this great stock idea. If you could just hear me out and give them the pitch. But, it was a great training for me, that you're always picking up your phone, and it's old school. So like, this is how we pick up the phone. And
Yes.
now some of the interns don't know how to answer a
Yes,
phone, which is
yes.
interesting, but just the discipline. And I knew that I was going to outwork everybody. So I would get in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and when people leave at 5 o'clock, I'd stay till 11 o'clock at night, and I'd call potential clients in California where it was only 9 o'clock out there. But, and I was fortunate, and just really working hard. And, within about 6 months, I was the top producer in the office, even as a young kid, which a lot of the older folks didn't really care for that too much. But, but it was really just grinding it out, and hard work and discipline, and just focus that I want to make sure I've got to be great at what I do.
And so what I like about this conversation is many a times residents, and even small business owners, we may hear about the industry you're in and just say, oh, those guys, they came from wealth. They're wealthy because they came from wealth, and they don't have to work like this. And look at it. Humble beginnings. Pilsen. We know the southwest side of Chicago. CPS student. And you mentioned you came out of college working so many hours that 2 hours behind. That means that's until 11 p.m. at night.
Yes.
You're working, hustling, doing what you have to do. But this is the good hustle
Yes.
that we want our kids to know about. The way. So how did you get to own your own firm?
I think part of it was, and it was funny because even growing up, we used to joke about it because I don't think I even realized that I was poor.
Wow.
Till I was
either.
in high school.
I didn't either. Yeah, I don't think I realized it even in high school or college, to be honest with you. But
and you know, we would joke around that we're broke as the 10 Commandments. And you know, even having wealth is like wealth. Nobody has wealth. We have negative wealth, negative equity. And you know, there were plenty of times where, okay, we're 5 months behind on the mortgage, and how are we going to pay for mortgage, and getting a job at White Castle and helping out my mom and my brother helping out too, and just the other family members helping out. So it was, we didn't have anything that we had built up or any savings or investments at all. And it wasn't something that we would talk about at the kitchen table like other communities do.
That's right.
And that's something that, you know, I try to change now, but even to have those conversations at the kitchen table, to be thinking about it, and other folks at public schools as well, when we're sitting down talking to them, to have those conversations with their kids, and even about college, and hey, this is how we're going to help pay for college, and even if we start investing a little bit at a time. But it was a challenge, and when I went out on my own to start my own business, and I didn't have a lot of money, but I had everything I had. I put into the business to get it started, and then, you know, the consultant's like, well, you're going to need an extra $200,000 here, another $300,000 here for this. And I was like, you didn't tell me that before, but I was already in. I had already purchased the company and started, and so, and I had to go out and take loans from my family as well, and then pay them back. But just to get started, and it was tough because we started in 2001 at the end of April, and then in September 9/11 hit, and the markets just shut down. And so I was saying my prayers. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I went all in. I put everything I had in and borrowed some money to get started.
Marty.
And you know, I said in my prayers, was like, look, if you want this to work out, I know you're going to help me somehow, some way. And we made it through, and the 2001 kind of the whole kind of crisis with 9/11, and then we started growing, and I started adding people who were experts in some of those areas, and you know, having to pay them more, and just taking myself at a very kind of low kind of salary just to get everyone started, and paying other people to bring in some of the expertise and building it up too.
So your business, but you took a lower salary to hire the best talent and to be able to have a competitive salary for them. And I call that, there is a terminology I learned in college, and I honestly live by this. I live by this: deferred gratification. And I said, and I learned that in economics, by the way, when I was in college. And I teach my daughter this even at 7 years old. And I talk about when my whole mission of building wealth today for tomorrow. The reason I say it's today for tomorrow, because it's not to spend all today. And it's to have that vision to say, I'm going to defer my gratification today to pay the talent that I need to bring in for me to be satisfied and gratified later. That is such a perfect example. And that's a sacrifice for a business owner, because you start your business to make money. And so to take that sacrifice and say, I need to defer my gratification because I see the bigger picture. In order for me to make it to the firm that I'm at today, I have to be able to get the right talent and sacrifice. So that's awesome, Marty. I just want you to know that. And that's a story within itself. So I didn't want to brush over that.
No, thank you, Madam Treasurer. And it was tough. It was not easy for many years, because, you know, you ask yourself, okay, why am I making all these sacrifices? And, you know, but it's really to see the bigger vision and knowing that, okay, the benefits will come years down the road.
Oh, my gosh.
at the end of the day, we'd focus on our clients. What do we need for our clients?
Yes.
And we have to find the best people to do that job.
Yes.
And
That's awesome. So what is your greatest accomplishment? Been in business over 22 years now, started in 2001. Wow, that's still a very young company, but still, even in the industry, a tenured company. So you're certainly reputable. But what is your greatest accomplishment? It doesn't have to necessarily be with Cabrera.
Yeah, I think my greatest accomplishment is my family. And
I hear you.
I know my wife, I have a beautiful wife that's been very supportive of me, and 5 wonderful kids.
Wow.
And, you know, I refer, it's like it's a small Mexican family. So, but we just, you know, have such a large extended family, and my wife grew up the same way, and we know that we've been blessed in life and that we have to share it with others and give back.
I love it.
And it's really, we can do well in business, and we have to and be profitable, but we have an opportunity to do a lot of good too, and making a difference and an impact. And it's not just about us, it's at the end of the day, like, you know, my faith is very strong, and it's the Lord who's blessed me and has taken me through ups and downs. But, you know, just knowing that faith is strong, especially during the worst times in business and in life, and appreciating everything that we've been given. And so we have an opportunity to make a difference in this world.
Right.
And so the business is, we have to make it great, but it's really what we can do. And it's a tool as well to help others, to shape this country, to shape other countries, and to give advice to, we've been fortunate where we can give advice to different presidents of this country and other countries and governors and mayors. And really to provide good policies that are going to be inclusive and benefiting everyone and people in the community too.
Awesome. And so we spoke about your sacrifices as a business owner and how you had to sacrifice your salary even, but I'm confident after you mentioned your wife and 5 children, how much as a business owner you've had to sacrifice with your family to get to where you are today.
It is. It's never easy, and people talk about work-life balance.
Tell me about it.
And I think
I'm still learning.
It's a nice phrase, but I don't know if it's reality. And you know, I'm blessed with a beautiful family structure. My wife, but also my mother, my grandmother, my in-laws.
Wonderful.
And they help support and help raise my kids too. And so, and it's difficult where even my father-in-law is the one who taught my daughters how to ride a bike.
Wow.
And so, and I was out traveling, which, you know, it hurts, but it's like, you have to understand that you can't do everything.
Yes.
And I'm very blessed to have the in-laws that are so supportive, and that it's a much bigger unit, and it's a whole community that's helping with the kids and cousins and everyone else. So
Marty, I'm not gonna brush over that either. You said while you were out developing this company, I think we spoke about $900 billion, right? $900 billion.
yes.
Okay. Of dollars that you've operated within this investment firm, okay? And you said that while you were out building this firm, who was helping your wife at home?
She was doing it on her own, but also with my aunt.
Support.
And yes, a whole support network.
Of your family and her family.
Yes. And she's, you know, a regional director at Citibank, and she's busy as well. I was on the road, and we have 8 other offices around the country and 1 in London. And so I'm traveling sometimes 3 or 4 days a week. So
for the betterment of the future, the sacrifices that were made from many of your family members to make certain that your children, 5 children, and you mentioned your daughter is now an intern, so she's in college.
yes.
So your children are doing well. They've seen what you have done. They've seen their mother and that journey, and they're just following in the same footsteps to be successful, but also wanting to make a difference in this world.
Yes, yes. And both of my daughters, one is going to be a junior at Holy Cross, and she's studying out in Scotland.
Wow.
And just opening up her mind to, you know, a global economy as well. And so it's exciting, and, you know, for my wife as well, it's like time flies by. And,
Yes.
you know, our kids are everything in the world to us, and just sharing those experiences. And when we're together, it's like we're going to make it quality time.
Yeah.
So
you've made it. Let's say that from our community, we would say you've made it. Okay. I know in your mind, you're like, I'm still trying to make it.
I'm still small and struggling and trying to get bigger. And
we're like, you've made it. Okay. But tell us, how have you maintained the wealth? Because that's what's important too. We can get it. It's still a hard task to get it. But then even once you acquire it, how do you maintain it?
So I think it's difficult, and even being in the finance sector, starting off just after college and a couple of years in the business, I did extremely well. But then I also invested, and those investments went down in the dot-com bubble, and losing it all too. And then
Risk.
thinking about like how that feeling is, and so just making sure that getting into the habit of putting a little bit of away, no matter what, just a little bit. And that's what I tell parents when we're at Chicago Public Schools. Like, it could be $5 or $10 or $25 a month, but if you get in the habit of just doing that, and you make it seem like it's not even part of your paycheck, that starts to build up. And even for other kids that are out there, if you have just some little wealth that's being put away and start investing in mutual funds, you get to know that, okay, I have some money put away, and it just becomes a habit. And then maybe as you get a better job, maybe you can do $100 a month or $200 a month. But you just got to start. And once you start, like, you don't want to stop too, because you see and you start paying attention.
Oh, wow.
I just bought the new Air Jordans, and some of these kids, I'm like, okay, but you own a piece of Nike too. So you're the part owner for it, and you're seeing your value and your stock go up, and your mutual fund too, because of the new movie that came out, and everyone wants the new Air Jordans as well, or the new iPhone and the Apple.
Yeah.
So in the minority communities, sometimes we're the first ones to go and buy the products, but we're not the investors in the company. So we're creating wealth for other people. In the Black and Latino communities, it's like, but we don't pay attention that, you know, we can be part owners and put some money in there. And as other people are coming out with the new iPhone 16 or 17, as an owner, you're going to see your stock price increase and your wealth increase as well.
Cabrera, you are talking my language right now, Marty. I just, like, I could not have said it any better. When I talk to parents, and even I tell them about starting to saving with the kids, like, literally, I think my daughter may have maybe $20 in coins at her piggy bank. She told me she's rich. So, like, she'll say, can I go to a restaurant? Of course, a fast food that she doesn't eat, but nevertheless, she's 7, so okay. And then I'll say, that's fine, or, well, how are we going to pay for it? She said, I have plenty of money, okay? And it's just a piggy bank of coins, that's it, right? But it's starting these kids in the habit. And I also told parents that, I tell them all the time when I have these meetings, I say, just get in the habit and teach your kids the habit. I promise you, if you get in the habit, any habit is something that you acquire and get better at. And so if you start small, and I think in our communities, we get discouraged by small. And we think, what is it to save $10? What is it to save $25? And I say, if you get in the habit, I assure you, when you acquire more, you'll save more. Marty, you just literally sat here and witnessed to what I've been saying.
Yes.
And then even going further to say, once we save, we teach our children, invest in our own. I was looking at the TV the other day, and of course, Squawk, I'm not going to even say the show, but in the morning time, yeah. And I'm also, again, teaching our kids. My daughter loves ketchup. And I say, you see that stock right there of that ketchup? Today is up, now tomorrow may be down. But we talk about invest. Look, we're not just investing for other people to be rich. And my daughter said, we can invest in ketchup?
And mustard.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
But we don't necessarily think like that. Yeah. We can make money off of what we like. Marty, I love it.
It's my daughters, they were young, and we would watch every Disney movie, buy
Yes.
every Disney dress, DVD,
Yes.
go to Disney World, watching Disney Channel.
Yes.
And I told them, I was like, you are going to be owners of the Disney company.
Wow.
And so when they were about 5 and 3, they didn't understand it, but the stock was at $23 a share. And I think now, I don't know
Oh
where
my
it's somewhere
gosh.
at 98, but
Yeah.
it's like, if we're going to buy these products, we're creating wealth for other people. It's like, let me show you, like, you're the part owner, and you can vote if you want
Yes.
to see who do you want. You're part owner. And
Yes.
for them at young age to understand that they own this company,
Yes.
it was mind-blowing to them.
Wow.
And they're like, so we can tell them what to do? It's like, you can tell them what to do. I don't know if they would listen, but you know, all those Disney movies we're seeing,
Yeah.
like Little Mermaid and the plays and
Yes.
everything, it's like, okay, you're helping yourself by being a part owner in those companies.
I love it. So talk to me about the importance of mentorship and coaching, especially in this industry, finance.
Yes, and you know, I think it's extremely important, and even from the internships that we
Yes.
have, I think we have about
Yes.
13
Yes.
interns this year in our Chicago office. And what I tell our staff as well is that, you know, take the time to spend with them, to tell them about your trade and how you do it, how you do it well, and how you got there. But also, it's like, these individuals, they might be 18 and 20 and 21, but 10 years from now,
Yes.
they might be running another company
That's
that you might want to
right.
do business with.
That's right.
And it's great to hear some of those interns coming back to say, Mart, I'm at this company in Miami or in kind of Detroit or in Houston. And they're like, we'd really like to see if we can work with you. And it's great just to be a mentor to them, but to give them advice and guidance. And I was part of an Inroads program, internship program for minority students in college. And I remember my first internship, it was at CNA Insurance. It was my first day of work. And so I came in dressed like with a brown sports coat, big buttons, a tie that went down like to my thigh, and I had some pants that were tight at the ankles and black shoes with some steel tips on there. And I thought I looked really good. And I felt sharp. I'm like, okay, I'm going to work in an office. And I think by Tuesday, like 2 days later, I had one of the staffers kind of come to me, and he was on the investment side. He's like, Martin, go to Sears and get a blue suit and get a white shirt and a red tie, and it goes up to your belt buckle, and get some Flourishine Bostonian shoes from across the street. And I was like, okay, all right. And I didn't know, nobody in my family
right.
knew how to dress. And, you know, you fast forward that I had started up Cabrera, and I had to get approval to do business with CNA Insurance, to do bond trading. And so I called him up. I was like, Dennis, I don't know if you remember me. I was an intern. He's like, oh, yeah, I remember you. Martin, how you doing? It's like, I'm doing well. It's like, one of my sales traders is looking to get approved with you. And I was like, but I just want to thank you because you helped me. You told me, gave me this guidance on how to dress for success. He's like, Martin, I told you that? And he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I didn't mean to offend you. I was like, no, you helped me.
Yes.
And it really did, because I didn't know how to dress. And that's some of the advice and guidance that we give and the coaching to some of the younger folks too. And, you know, Inroads as well, they would tell us, okay, they were very strict on how you can dress, how you can have your hair styled, you know, what you can wear, and just even going to a luncheon and how to eat properly at a luncheon with a client, and the basics of utensils, eating outside to in. And so it was a great kind of support network for me, and helpful, and they were all kind of mentors to us. But there was about 250 students, college students from all over the country that lived here. They'd come back here, but they not only trained us on how to get ready for success in corporate America, but also on volunteer work. And those Saturday mornings, we had to be in suit and tie and dresses, and it was all about volunteer work and some of these training sessions, but giving back. And that's what I loved. There was kind of a pastor, Floyd Brady, who ran the program, but he was wonderful, and he inspired all of 250 kids. We all want to go out and change the world.
I love it. So with that, and I know we're coming to, we're just talking, so a lot of these questions I know I spoke about, but talk to me about some best practices advice you may have for someone that's starting out with investing.
I think it's starting out in investing, it's just the initial piece of getting started. And then as you might kind of start to invest in mutual funds, you can start to look at stocks, things that you care about. It might be an iPhone. It might be AT&T.
I love it.
It might be Comcast. It may be Disney. But things that you can relate to and see that, what are you buying? And I think that's something that you'll kind of see. We actually we adopted one of the schools, the Lee School on the Southwest side, and focusing on financial literacy in the curriculum as well, but also giving each of the classes from kindergarten gets a $20,000 in real money to invest. And so does the first grade through 8th grade. And once that's for their college savings plans, and getting them to sign up for a college savings plan so that when they graduate from 8th grade, half of the money goes to their profits to the students for the college saving plans, and the other half goes to the school and gets reinvested back into the next kindergarten class. But it's really to get them to start thinking about it. And so when we talk to them, it's like, what stocks are you going to invest in? They talk about Roblox and some of the computer games on there, Fortnite. It's like, okay, that's great. You're thinking that way.
That's right.
But now think about, what are the chips that are going to each of every game out there and every computer, NVIDIA? So they're like, oh, they go into all of those games? It's like, yeah, so you can buy the microchip, the chip company, NVIDIA, which is up 300% in performance just for the year. And so they start to think a little differently. But also you ask them about, look at what you're wearing today. What are the brands that you're buying? Where did you buy it from, Target or Walmart? You know, and so that they're more conscious of what they're buying. And so sometimes it's a simple way of investing, but just with things that you know and things that you really care about and the trends that you see.
So your point is that it can start easy, it can start small. You don't have to be an expert.
No.
Start with what excites you. Start with what interests you. Start with where we're investing in someone, right?
Yes.
And so what you're saying is, why not invest in ourselves?
Yes.
And how you can do that, you don't have to own these brands, but you will own them as you invest in them.
Yes.
Right? I like that. Yeah. I like that.
You become part owners of those companies.
I love that.
Yes.
And then you earn enough to start and develop your own.
Yes.
Yeah. And I always tell people it's never too late. Certainly you started with economics in high school, went to college, have your degrees in finance, but it's not too late as people you know that have joined the investment industry that did not go to college for finance.
No. And Madam Treasurer, all the people that come, you know, in the city of Chicago that come to your office, they could be 45, 50, 60 years old. They could start then. And it's just getting started.
That's right, Marty. That's right. So as we come to a close, what is the best piece of advice that you have received about finances, and what advice do you want to leave with our attendees today? These are residents, these are small business owners, these are parents, whomever. What piece of advice would you leave them? What's the best advice you've received, and what advice would you like to leave today?
So I think the best advice in the finance business I received was just, you have to be the best at what you do. And if you are, it doesn't matter how broke you were as a kid, doesn't matter you're black or brown or yellow, people are gonna respect you for your knowledge and experience, and they're gonna come to you for being the best. And just like I tell high school and college students, they wanna play for the NBA or they wanna play for the NFL. It's like, you've gotta be the best and put in the time and effort. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
That's right.
It's a lot of overtime, and you have to put in the time, the sweat, equity, the sweat and tears as well. And that's what you see from some of the folks that are being successful. And I think for the advice I would give just the residents of Chicago, and even for some of the folks that are looking to invest, just get started. And even with a small amount of money, once you do that and you just fill out the paperwork, it's like, all right, I'm going to put, even though it's a little bit of money, you might think it's a little bit of money, but it's the habit of investing and just getting started. And then also talk to your kids. Even though you might not have any money like me, like we didn't have any money, so we didn't talk about it, but you could still talk about it and talk about college. And you're 5 and 6 years old, like what do you want to do to your daughter, to your son? And just having those conversations and just start thinking, okay, that means you want to be a doctor? We're going to have to make sure we're going to start investing a little bit too, to make sure you go to high school, college, and have the resources there. But having those conversations with your kids go a long way. And they're going to remember those conversations when they were small and when they're older, and shape kind of who they are and what they're doing.
That is so awesome. Marty, it has been our absolute pleasure to welcome you today. Martin Cabrera of Cabrera Capital Markets and Partners.
Madam Treasurer, thank you for all that you do, because I know you were pushing with our pension funds as well for inclusivity and that access to capital. And that reputation precedes you around the country of what you're doing. So we just need 20 more of you in other parts of the country to be doing what you're doing. But it's making a difference. And I refer to it as the financial civil rights movement. And that we understand economics now, and how those pension funds work, and how the access to capital for private equity firms, real estate, equity managers, and how it makes a difference when it's in the hands of folks of color.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
There you have it, folks. What a great time. I hope you're listening. Share this with others. I always say knowledge is great, but the best knowledge is when it's shared with others. So see you on the next Wealth Wednesdays, and we're going to continue to bring in successful business owners that we can relate to, that we can learn from, and just really help to build our own success. Take care.